Good evening, I'm Jason Vio. This is CBC Windsor News. Thanks for watching. The brother of a 19-year-old who was struck and killed by an OPP cruiser is speaking out. It happened over the weekend in the early morning hours near Harrow. Jacob Barker brings us the story.
Here on County Road 20 is near where a tragic incident took the life of 19-year-old Mendy Goosen on November 2nd. She was struck by an OPP cruiser, according to the police service. Now the community is showing its support while the family remembers. It came as a shock to a best friend.
Probably the best friend anybody could ask for. Not the right person to go so soon.
And a brother.
When she first came, I didn't know what I'd do with her. Now that she's gone, I don't know what I'd do without her.
OPP says the investigation is still in its early stages. Goosen says he's still uncertain what happened, just that his mother called him early in the morning after an officer showed up at her door.
She was going to go with them to the hospital, and a little bit later she told me that she was gone. It's all still under investigation. I don't know.
Goosen says he takes no meaning out of the fact that a police vehicle was involved in the accident.
It could happen to anybody, I guess. Everybody's human, right? So, be police, it could be anybody else.
He says now is the time for the family to remember his sister, a quiet and creative soul.
She liked taking pictures, she liked film, she liked art, anything that was a little different.
He says she'd also recently made a new connection.
She got a cat this year. Okay. Absolutely loved her cat.
Goosen is one of 3 older brothers mourning the loss, the family bolstered at a difficult time by the community they live in.
We've got messages, calls from so many people, and I would have never expected that. Especially my sister, she would have never realized she made such a big impact on so many people. I'm amazed.
Support for a family still reeling from the shock of losing a loved one unexpectedly.
Is there anything else you want to say?
Well, I guess just hold your siblings close. They can be gone before you know it.
Jacob Barker, CBC News, Harrow.
A shocking birth happened this week in Ruthven in a farm field, and the man who helped with the delivery called it a miracle. The CBC's Dawson Chen brings us the story.
This Mennonite farmer is calling it a miraculous occasion. Quadruplet calves. Abram Nelson has been keeping cows for many years, but what happened on his pasture in Ruthven earlier this week was a shock. 4 births by one mother cow in one go.
So yesterday I came home from work and I seen she had 1. And I went over here and she had 2. An hour later, she had 2 more. It was a surprise to me. I was the happiest guy on earth, you know. This is a thing that doesn't happen too often, especially with 4 healthy calves. To me, it is a miracle. Yes, it is.
According to the Irish Farmers Journal, which reported on a similar event in Southern Ireland 8 years ago, the odds of quadruplets in cows are about 1 in 700,000. But the odds of all 4 calves being born alive and well are 1 in 11 million. So far, the 3 baby bulls and 1 baby heifer that recently arrived at Nelson's farm are healthy and hungry. Christine Nelson agrees with her father-in-law that such a rare event happening on their farm is a blessing.
It's life. It's a miracle, and they're such social animals that you can connect with these cows, and I just love it.
According to Abram, there was absolutely no medical intervention in the processes of the mother cow, or Charlie, the bull that sired the quadruplets.
No, there was nothing involved. This was the natural breeding like nature would give it. I wouldn't have the slightest idea what happened something like this. There's one thing I know for sure. There is a God. That's for sure.
But don't go thinking these are holy cows. The Nelsons intend to raise them as beef cattle. Dawson Chen, CBC News, Kingsville.
Riley, those calves really look like they were enjoying the outdoors and the weather that they had for them.
Brings up the memories of growing up on a cattle farm, that's for sure. Yeah, I mean, a bit breezy still through parts of the day today. We'll get back into a little bit of wind as we get through the day tomorrow. Temperature-wise, though, fairly seasonal for this time of the year. 8 degrees in Windsor at the moment, 7 in Chatham-Kent. Closer to freezing, closer to the water in Sarnia at 4 degrees, London at 5. Overnight tonight, looking at temperatures bottoming out around 6 degrees. Some cloud starts to build in, and we get into some rain, Jason, as we get into the day tomorrow. The details just ahead.
All right, thanks so much, Riley.
You're welcome.
The Ontario government's fall economic statement points to worsening conditions in the province, with housing starts expected to fall even further, more people out of work, and a big deficit. But the finance minister made it clear his government is still committing to a balanced budget in 2 years. Queen's Park reporter Lorenda Redekop has more.
Big cheers for the finance minister from his own party, but a caution from Peter Bethlenfalvy as he presented his fall economic statement.
But we know the road ahead is not without challenges.
Some of those challenges: unemployment is at 7.8%, higher since the spring budget, expected to improve slightly next year, but still worse than projections from the budget. Housing starts are also down yet again. For this year, down from the more than 71,000 new homes projected in the spring to just over 64,000, with the lower numbers expected to continue for the next 3 years. So what does that mean for the government's commitment to build 1.5 million homes over 10 years?
That target is no longer a hard target, but that we're going to continue to move forward on building as many homes as we can.
NDP leader Marit Stiles says workers have already seen the impact.
Home construction workers that can't find work at a time when we know there is a housing crisis. We desperately need homes. Nothing the government has tried has worked, clearly, and so they seem to have thrown in the towel.
Plus, there's a big deficit, $13.5 billion projected this year. Not as bad as projected in the spring, and a balanced budget in 2 years.
What it's projecting will require massive cuts to the kind of supports that Ontarians need, especially in a time like we're heading into.
Yesterday, Bethlenfalvy referred to the federal budget as tinkering.
If that's tinkering, then we can only describe the Ontario Fall Economic Statement one way: teeny tiny tinkering.
The Liberals wanted to see more help with affordability, supporting schools, and more investment in hospitals. This update also includes changes to a climate law. It would mean the province no longer has to set greenhouse gas emission reduction targets or prepare a climate change plan.
We're committed to doing everything it takes to reduce greenhouse gas emissions, but we're not going to be bound by targets.
And our kids will ask this government while they're canceling the obligation to have a climate plan for future generations.
One piece of unexpected news in the document today: the government has chosen a company to do a feasibility study looking at options for a tunnel under Highway 401. All we know is that it is a Canadian company, and the finance minister says more details are coming soon. Lorenda Redekop, CBC News, Toronto.
A former grade 8 teacher in Ontario has pleaded guilty to child sex charges. It's a case that sent shockwaves through a small town because the victims were her students at the time. Thomas Dagla reports, but a warning: some of the details are graphic and may be disturbing.
Grade 8 teacher Kellyanne Jennings left the courthouse today more than a year after sexual misconduct allegations began to surface. She stood in the courtroom and simply said guilty when the judge asked how she would be pleading, responding to 6 criminal charges, including child luring and making child pornography. She faced a dozen other charges, including sexual assault, but those charges have been stayed at the request of the Crown. Several police officers showed up at her home in Peterborough last year to arrest her. Now, according to an agreed statement of facts read in court, Jennings had been the grade 8 teacher for the 3 boys listed as victims in this case. She had been drinking when she began to send them increasingly explicit pictures and videos through Snapchat. She also asked for them to send nude pictures of themselves, which they did. The identities of the 3 boys are covered by a publication ban, as is the name of the school in Port Hope, Ontario, where they were students and she was their teacher. In a victim impact statement, the mother of one of the boys said, "My son looked up to her as a second mother, someone who truly cared about him," describing Jennings' actions as predatory, manipulative, and deeply harmful. Crown Attorney Julianne Barrett said the boys were manipulated by Jennings and used for her own selfish sexual needs. The Crown is recommending a 4-year prison sentence, while Jennings' defense lawyer is asking for a 2-year conditional sentence, so no jail time, followed by probation. The judge is expected to hand down his sentence later this month. Thomas Dagg, CBC News, Peterborough, Ontario.
Ontario cancer patients will be among the first participants in one of the biggest ever genetic health studies in Canada. Tens of thousands of people will get genomic testing. It will screen participants for genetic mutations that could increase their risks for hereditary cancers, heart attacks, or strokes. Jennifer Yoon has the story.
Our bodies contain thousands of genes. Some mutations put us at higher risk of cancers and heart disease, but many of us don't know it.
I had no clue. There was no strong, immediate history of cancer in my family.
Like Leslie Bourne, who didn't know a genetic mutation in the BRCA2 gene put her at higher risk of ovarian cancer until after she was diagnosed.
I don't have a lot of regrets in my life, but that is the one piece of information or thing I wish I had known.
Now, researchers are amping up genomic testing in Ontario, screening 100,000 people over the next 5 years. They'll be testing for 3 genetic conditions: mutations in the BRCA gene associated with breast and ovarian cancer, Lynch syndrome associated with colorectal cancer, and familial hypercholesterolemia, which often has no symptoms until a heart attack or stroke. The goal is to expand testing to broader populations, starting with cancer patients at the Princess Margaret Cancer Centre.
And knowing their genetic makeup helps them to see if we have to be concerned of any other cancer, but also importantly identifies their family members that would be at risk.
Data from the study could help researchers see if the benefits of the genomic testing outweigh the costs.
The studies that need to be shown that it's proven to benefit as many people as possible.
Our traditional methods of referral of high-risk families are definitely missing the majority of at-risk individuals.
More genetic tests would help, no question, says this genetic counselor. But that takes a lot of people, and expanding screening will require more investment.
Genetics is a freckle in the healthcare system.
But the knowledge can also be life-changing for patients.
I'm not sitting in the dark anymore.
Like for Leslie Bourne, she's now getting screened more often and living cancer-free. Jennifer Yoon, CBC News, Toronto.
It's the season to be discarding your old jack-o'-lanterns. While many people will simply toss them to the side of the road or put them in a yard waste bag, one woman has found a unique use for those unwanted pumpkins.
Chickens! Hi, my name's Julia Knight, and today we're going to be talking about feeding pumpkins to chickens. Honestly, when I first got chickens, I just assumed that they loved everything. And so I don't want anything to go to waste, and I give everything off our table for table scraps to them, and so I thought might as well pumpkins too. I put a post out on Facebook asking for pumpkins for my chickens because they do really like it. It's a great snack for them, it's healthy. I cut them up, I make holes in the pumpkin so that they can stick their head into the pumpkin and eat the flesh and the seeds, because that's their favorite part. The skin's a little bit too tough for them to start out with, so I like to help them. I kind of wasn't surprised too much because I know that they love eating everything. The only thing that they really won't eat too much of the pumpkin is the stem, because it's just so hard and woody. It's really good to recycle. Like all these pumpkins that people are probably have on their porch right now will be just tossed to the road and into the landfills, and so like might as well give them to animals that will use them and help out the farmers for feed prices. Probably the most amount of pumpkins that I actually got was probably about 20 to 30, and that was maybe 2 years ago.
When you feed the chickens pumpkins, are you worried that they're going to turn orange, that their feathers are going to turn orange?
No.
And the second of 3 supermoons in 2025 took place yesterday, as we told you about, known as the Beaver Moon. Last night's full moon was the biggest and brightest of the year. In case you missed it, here is some footage taken by our video producer, Mike Evans. Stay with us here on CBC Windsor News. We'll be right back with more news coming up right after the break. Choose to lead or be led to ruin. That was the UN Secretary General's warning at a meeting of world leaders ahead of next week's COP30 climate conference. Susan Ormiston reports.
After 30 years of climate conferences, a lot of people are wondering what is the point of these negotiations. So the leaders here are focused on that, more on direct action, less on big pledges or negotiations. And the UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres referenced that this morning.
And the hard truth is that we have failed to ensure we remain below 1.5 degrees. Every fraction of a degree means more hunger, displacement and loss, especially for those least responsible.
That's not to say there hasn't been progress. Guterres reminding his audience that the economies have shifted. The energy transition has begun and it is moving fast. That in 2024, $2 trillion was invested in clean energy, $800 billion more than in fossil fuels. That's progress, he says, but acknowledges there are still pinch points.
Fossil fuels still command vast subsidies, taxpayers' money. Too many corporations are making record profits from climate devastation, with billions spent on lobbying, deceiving the public, and obstructing progress.
Nearly 60 heads of state are coming to this conference. That's just a third of the leaders who came to the climate conference 2 years ago in Dubai. But this is one of the most challenging geopolitical landscapes in a long time, with very difficult economies, with climate skeptic in the White House. The U.S. is not sending an official delegation for the first time. I think the message here is that the conference more than ever has to prove that there's value in multilateral negotiations and that they will send messages back to their home countries of direct action. Enough pledges, enough hard negotiations on some areas, and now it's time to put all these ambitions into practice. Susan Ormiston, CBC News in Belém, Brazil.
The Canadian version of a unique interview series is making its debut on CBC television. Some Canadian celebrities will be interviewed by people on the autism spectrum. It's called The Assembly, and Magda Gabriselase looks at what drives it.
Welcome to The Assembly.
It's the show that promises no question is off limits. In the hot seat, Canadian celebrities like musician Jan Arden, comedian Howie Mandel, and actor Maitreyi Ramakrishnan. On the mic, interviewers who are on the autism spectrum.
Do you love yourself?
What led you to have an affair?
Oh!
What is your biggest insecurity?
For Margot Wask, the show is groundbreaking.
I want to ensure that when autism is spoken about or represented in media, that we're consulted with. I think this show really sets the precedent of what that can look like.
But at first, Wask was hesitant about taking part. It had to do with autistic representation on other shows, like the dating series Love on the Spectrum.
It can be very infantilizing.
That show, a success for Netflix, has received mixed reviews, much like The Assembly's many versions around the world.
I do feel in its presentation it can be a little tokenized in terms of like, we have no filter.
Sarah Kerchik is a culture writer who is autistic. She's written about representation on fictional shows like The Good Doctor and programs featuring real people too. While she's happy autistic and neurodivergent people are being centered, she worries about how some audiences will react.
You see the viral clips that are passed around are always like, oh, it's so sweet, it's so heartwarming. But there is more to our experience than that.
Expanding the audience's understanding is a goal for the show too.
Because it's a great show and a great interview, not a great interview by autistic and neurodivergent folks, but just simply a great interview.
Wask is pleased with her experience and is keeping in mind reactions to the other shows.
You're never going to be able to please 100% of people with your approach.
But she says you can do your best. Magda Gabriselase, CBC News, Toronto.
And Riley joins us now for a live look at weather. And Riley, you've said it earlier this week that we're enjoying some above seasonal temperatures, but we've kind of been seeing the direction things are going in. But I think you're about to use the F word this evening. Flurries might be on the horizon.
Yeah, flurries, wet snow definitely in the long range, and actually not the too distant long range from now, Jason. We'll get into it here. So right now, at least, a little bit of cloud cover starting to push into the region. Really, that's about it, though, for any real weather for the next 12 hours or so anyway. I want to draw your attention to what's happening over northwestern Ontario, over the northern tip of the Great Lakes here. This is a fairly unorganized and weak Alberta clipper that will push across northern and central parts of the province as we get through the night. However, we will see some impacts from this into southwestern Ontario because of the cold front associated with it. So we get some cloud building in overnight tonight and through the morning hours ahead of this cold front that is kind of stubbornly stuck over the Great Lakes. There's a bit of troughing here, and this will trigger some showers as we get through the morning hours, very brief in nature. So, I mean, sending the kids off to school probably will need the umbrellas first thing, but even by 11 o'clock in the morning, we're back into even some sunny breaks here in southwestern Ontario as this cold front tries to nudge its way through. Doesn't do a great job pulling our temperatures back. However, it's what I'm watching as we get into Sunday that could have a greater impact weather-wise into southwestern parts of the province. This is a general 5 to 10 millimeters. Some locations likely not meeting that 5 millimeters, but a little bit of shower activity nonetheless as we get through the next 12, 18 hours or so here. Into Friday, in behind that system, we will see some winds kicking up again. So I am looking at gusts up to 60 kilometers an hour. Some locations maybe even seeing some gusts up to 70. The closer you are to the GTA is where I'm looking at some of those stronger wind gusts through the afternoon tomorrow. So overnight temperatures, I guess this is the early morning version, looking at temperatures around 10 to 12 degrees, so fairly warm through the overnight hours. We'll try for 13. That rain does hold our temperatures back slightly as we get through the day tomorrow. Sunny breaks into Saturday. Then there's another clipper system that pushes through the region just like tomorrow as we get into Sunday. But the difference here being as we get overnight Sunday into Monday, temperatures cool below the freezing mark, and that could transition some of this into early Monday morning over to some wet flurries or some light snow. So just keeping you aware of that as we head through the overnight hours into Monday, and temperatures, Jason, much closer to the freezing mark as we get into next week once again.
Okay, thanks so much, Riley.
You're welcome.
And that does it for us here at CBC Windsor News. Thank you so much for watching. We'll see you back here tomorrow night. Have a good night.
See ya.